Uh, okay, so the reason, first of all, thank you all for coming. The reason I'm actually doing this talk is because a while ago I published an article on LinkedIn and got some pretty good feedback. In fact, a couple of folks who wrote the Google SRE book liked this, and I was like, okay, I should be talking about this at conferences and things like that. So that's why I'm here, and hopefully you'll get something out of this talk. In terms of agenda, I'll be talking first about, obviously the theme is around uptime availability and customer obsession and things like that. But I'll be talking about mindset. I'll be talking about customer obsession. I'll be talking about some of the soft skills that are needed, not just to resolve an outage fast, but also to be able to understand what your customers actually want. Some steps about the post-migration, some words of wisdom, and then finally some DevOps patterns and anti-patterns, especially because I'm very passionate about that topic. Cool, which is why I'm here. The first thing is, when you go and speak with a product, actually this happened to me, to a product folks and say, what do you care about? Say, okay, this is what I care about. I care about the product being up. So ask them, when someone says you that, ask them, like, what does that mean? Give me a number, right? Just the product being up all the time doesn't make sense. The folks at Google talk about this using budgets. In fact, I used something similar at Zynga back in 2013 as a way to hold each other accountable, like the dev and the ops teams. But the point I'm trying to make is don't just mindlessly shoot for 5 times uptime. The reason being, things like your iPhone, your ISP, your routers, like nothing, all the devices that you're actually using to access a service are themselves not 5 nines reliable. So there's no point in trying to make your service 5 nines reliable, right? So I think the right thing to do is to establish budgets, or SLOs as they call them, and then figure out what the right number is, and then hold each other accountable. Okay, we talked about reliability and uptime and customers. Unfortunately, outages. Unfortunately, I don't think everyone is. At least this is based on my, doing this for 15 years, is not everyone is really equipped or has the right soft skills and the mindset to effectively deal with an outage, to effectively deal with the customers, to effectively come up with an SLO and things like that. So this talk would be sort of centered around that. I'll try to go fast, a lot of material to cover. So if you have any questions, you can always ping me on Twitter. Okay, so 3 kinds of mindset, right? The first is customer focus. These are the people who are focused on the customer. They are doing things without being asked. They always have. They're mindful of the fact that there's someone on the other end using a service, and they are suffering as a result. Obviously, the mindset to have. Type B is boss focus. So the moment your boss is not available, obviously, or not around, some people I've seen do not perform as well. Again, not the ideal thing to have. And then the third kind of mindset I've seen is people mostly like neutral folks or people who are just coasting along. Either they are not aware that customer service is very, very, very important, and the site being down is not a good thing, or they just don't care. Just raise of hands, but show by raise of hands, like how many people in this room think they are type A, customer focused? What about the rest? What about type B? Any brave souls? You guys rock. What about type C? Cool. At least people are honest. That's great. Again, I think the thing you would want to shoot for is trying to be as focused on the customer as possible, if you can. Okay. Again, if you're not customer focused, the customers are going to suffer as a result, a pretty obvious thing. The people I've seen who are focused on the customer, especially when dealing with outages, do 3 things, sort of differently than normal engineers. The first thing is they send an outage notification right away. This is sort of analogous to your toilets being clogged, and trust me, I've seen a lot of these at my home. I have 4-year-old twin boys, and they have clogged our toilets a lot of times. Anyway, the first thing you want to do is put up a sign saying, don't use it. Don't make things worse. It's sort of not very intuitive because as engineers, we want to, we want to sort of jump right into the problem and solve it. But a lot of people actually need this information. You'll be surprised a lot of people actually need this information to be able to do their job. So it's important to do some sort of a communication out to the world saying that something is broken before you start working on the problem. The other thing is make sure that you're comfortable calling your boss's boss, boss's boss's boss. In fact, at Yahoo, like, Marissa wanted to know when there was a P1 going on. There's actually an interesting story on that. Anyway, so that's number one. Number two, always engage with your customers through social media and PR. In fact, just to give you an example, each time there was an Apple with your Stocks app on your iPhone, Apple wanted to know. So we had someone at Yahoo getting in touch with Apple. That's the very first thing that we did because they want to know, because customers are contacting Apple saying what's happening, my stocks are not being updated in real time. Twitter, again, can be a great monitoring tool. Use it, leverage it. It can be awesome. It's easy to overlook, but ideally, you should be responding to every single complaint out there on Twitter, but do your best. The third thing, make sure there's one status page that people can go to find out what's happening with your service. If you don't have one, try to make one up. It's such a more scalable solution than having a bunch of people like trying to contact you. Okay, and then the best software engineers are the ones who are focused on mitigating the impact first, right? Again, try not to jump onto the problem right away, but once you start working on it, just sort of put your ego to the side. Try to work on mitigating the impact first. What does that mean? We can worry about root causing later. On that topic, have you ever been in a large incident where there's like 300 people on IRC and people are scrambling for stuff? I've seen a lot of this at Yahoo and Zynga. And people are asking, like, what is the impact? Show me the impact. And it's frustrating when people cannot point out to a graph showing that your connected users have dipped, or your peak simultaneous users have dipped, or your RPS numbers have dipped, right? So it's important to be able to first quantify the impact before you go and start working on the problem. Again, on the topic of mitigating the impact, how many people are very comfortable in this room are comfortable failing over a data center? Just like that. Just one? Okay, two? Yeah, surprisingly, people spend a lot of time doing BCP certifications. Yahoo has like 6 data centers around the world, and still people just don't fail over. I just don't know why. If you are in that situation, which sounds like you are, then go back and try to see why that is happening. Like failing over a data center should be an idempotent operation. It should be seamless. You should have practiced this. So maybe there's no proper fire drills or maybe something else, but try to understand what the reason is, right? Roll back that change, right? I think one of my favorite things here is, have you ever noticed someone just commits code and then goes to lunch, okay, just goes home? It's terrible, right? You own your code pushes, be around, be available. If you have to roll back a change, yes, we have canarying things and things like, automated deployments and cluster immune systems, but be around, especially if you have a push button kind of a deployment, even though you may be doing CD, and roll back the change. Again, this should be an idempotent operation, rolling back, rolling forward. If you're taking an hour to roll back, something is seriously broken in your, in your practice. Again, mitigate impact first, right? Restarting the cluster, again, have a strategy for doing this. The caches are not normally warmed up, but have a strategy for that. But if you have to, in fact, when I was working at IMU, we had a cluster restart script, but again, IMU was a much smaller scale than Zynga or Yahoo. So it can work. Okay, on the topic of outages, we talked about how to mitigate impact first, and then we'll be talking about, I do that all the time. I get lost. Okay, talk about soft skills, because having the right mindset and customer obsession is not enough. You also have to have the right soft skills. So we'll be covering them for the next 5 minutes or so. Skill number 1, calm down, right? Likely your house is not on fire. Most likely no one is dying. At least that's not the industry. Anyone in an industry where you're on call where people are dying? No one? Okay. So again, mostly the site's down, so make sure you calm down. In fact, once when one of my twins was sort of, he was missing for a couple of minutes, I called 911, and the very first thing that they say is like, calm down. Like, you should be able to explain clearly what happened. In fact, freaking out is only going to make things worse, right? So make sure you're calm, make sure you're peaceful. Again, this can be applied to other things as well. Speak out. It's not easy, it's not trivial to be speaking out in front of 300, 500 people, especially in IRC, especially when there's a lot of chaos going on. The best engineers are the one asking the right questions, right? They're able to ask. They also have the courage to be asking those questions. It's also important to keep, again, as I mentioned earlier, to keep people in the loop and to call them up in the middle of the night. So do not hesitate to do that. And it's a skill not everyone seems to have, but it can actually be developed. Get straight to the point. When I get woken up at 3:30 a.m., I just care a damn about apologizing. Just come straight to the point. All I want to know is how can I help, right? Because you've already woken me up. There's no point in trying to be nice, right? So just get straight to the point, and just try to do something for the customers. Try to mitigate the impact. At the same time, don't be a jerk. I've seen people who just the moment they walk into a room, everyone's like watching them. Oh, the VP's here. It's like, come on, dude, or guys or girls, whoever, right? Like, just you can do better, right? So make sure you're forming a cult around the customers and not around the leaders, right? So that's very, very, very important. At the same time, if you are a leader or a manager or whoever, and if you're constantly having to go and ask for updates, or you're not happy with, or if you're like micromanaging, then it's probably time to sort of do some reflection and see what is really wrong. Maybe you have the wrong team, wrong process, wrong people working for you, whatever, but it's important. Never give up. Otherwise, bad karma, especially if you're dealing with outages, and things can, in the world of distributed systems, things can be hairy, complex, whatever. In fact, just to give an example, there was once where there was DDoS attacks going on, and and there was one attack which looked like a slow loris, which is like connections piling up on your web server just because they're intentionally slow. But what ended up happening was there was an intern who pushed a change where we were trying to block IP certain on some we were trying to rate limit IPs. But then what ended up happening was, instead of using a single key per IP, he was appending the keys to one single key. So the Redis machine got overloaded. And the network it was connected to. So what looked like a slow loris attack turned out to be some intern who did a lot of damage and then just left the company. So it's important to never give up, especially when you're dealing with an outage. You never know what the real root cause is. Again, can you think on your feet, take a stand? There was an example where we had a distributed file system called Mogile FS. It's similar to Hadoop. Someone on my team dropped the table on the master, which had the mappings. The worst part was the slave was about a day behind because it was backing up. So we had to make a choice. Either we risk data consistency issues and then promote the slave and then lose 1 day's worth of data, or should we just allow the slave to catch up? Make those decisions quickly. I had to make a decision to wait for the slave to catch up. Of course, that also involved a lot of managing the community, working with the community management team, giving customers credit and things like that. But outages are the situations where you have to make quick decisions, and you should be willing to take a stand. Okay, the last one. Can you do a proper handoff? Let me ask you a question. If I send you an email at 3 a.m. saying that you own this, is that a handoff? That's not a handoff. Even like leaving a voice message is not a handoff, right? It has to be explicit, right? I actually learned this lesson the hard way, like a long time ago, where we were dealing with an EPO outage. Someone at the data center pushed an emergency power off, and we had the monumental task. I had to lead that task of bringing about 2,000 machines back online. It was not fun. It was 36 hours, and then about 24 hours into the outage, I went to I was taking an hour of nap, and then what was looking like a great outage ended up being like a shit show for an hour, just because there was no leader leading or an incident commander, right? So it's very, very important to do a proper handoff. And then the worst part was when I and my boss was giving me this feedback. I was like, damn, I worked 36 hours, and you tell me that I did like 99% things well and 1% bad, and it hurts. But that's how you learn, right? That's how we all learn. Okay, again, can you run a marathon? A good example here is, anyone from Apple here? Awesome, I can swear against Apple. Anyway, when they released iOS 8, there was a bug with the background refresh, and we had literally 3 days to scale to 1.2 million RPS on our finance Apple stack, just because there was a 10x increase we did all the testing. They sent us devices, but Apple can change their code anytime. Again, just because they're Apple, and we are just Yahoo, right? Anyway, but the best part was, all the 30 or 40 people who worked on this over a 3-day weekend, we all became good friends, and so that was a good positive outcome. The last thing is, can you learn? Can you take feedback, right? So I always ask this to myself is, no outage is perfect, right? Always keep pushing. If your TDD is 15 minutes, say, can it be 5? But don't be a jerk, but ask those questions, right? I think someone was talking about psychological safety. I mean, I think that's important, right? Because people should be free and allowed to ask those questions, hard questions, right? Okay, outage mitigated. Your job's not done yet. You still have to clean up. You know how we hack things during an outage, and we do a bunch of things together so that we can restore the service for the customers. Again, make sure that you've worked really hard. Don't mess it up now. Go clean up before there's another outage because of the changes you've made in response to an outage, because that would be bad. And it has happened before. Bookkeeping, again, not a fun job, but if you are true to your customers, then obviously make sure that you are recording things like incident start time, stop time, impacted minutes, impacted users. All that's not fun work, but to be able to go back and actually run some analysis and find patterns. I think this data is important, so bookkeeping is important. Postmortem, again, I can probably speak about a day on this, but at the core of SRE or production engineering is this. If you've written software, it's inherently think there's going to be bugs. Make sure there's a culture. And again, blameless. Again, blameless is sort of table stakes these days, but make sure there's a process. I love to run postmortems using the 5-why process. And I also love coordinating. We just use a Google Doc, and everyone's like typing in. But postmortems are very, very, very critical. Okay, some words of wisdom. Just my 2 cents, free advice, take it or not. An outage is not about you, right? It's about your customer. So there's going to be time where, we can work with your, hurt egos and hurt feelings and things like that. But again, this is where the mindset I talked about, having the customer-focused mindset is going to be very critical. Too much passion, again, is bad. There's a balance, and balance is very important in life. I've seen people like overly passionate. And again, as I mentioned, likely your house is not on fire, no one's dying, so calm down, be present, and make sure that you're doing the right thing for the customer. Again, same thing here. I'll just follow up to point number 2. Jiggling handles is not a bad strategy. Just don't do it too often. Make sure you're capturing the state before you restart something. But again, there's going to be enough time later to do deeper discussions, but focus on resolving the outage as soon as possible. I like this a lot. During an outage, never ever ask who effed up. It's terrible. Things will only go south. And the moment I hear this, in fact, I talked about Apple, and someone's like, why does Apple keep? I said, no, now is not the time. Now is not the time. There's going to be time, maybe over a beer or something, where we can bitch about things, but now is not the time, right? Not productive. Again, outages can sometimes last very, very, very long, and especially when you have a large number of users. There could be a subset of users who are still impacted, and you may think you've won your battle, or you've declared all green, but make sure that you're paying attention to that 99.9th percentile. You never know. I don't know, maybe your throttling systems are throttling a customer. But that's where having proper planning is critical, because if you're fatigued, you're humans, we have fatigue. So you will not be able to do justice to that long tail or that short tail. So make sure that you're doing a proper handoff, especially if you're tired. Feel free to take a break. There's nothing wrong with that. You're human. You're not a robot. Okay, and again, it's not about perfection, it's about progress. I think I sort of touched upon this topic. Always keep pushing the boundaries or pushing the limits or whatever. This as well, never hide anything during the outage. I've worked with some people who are like, okay, it's okay to F up, but what is not okay is you cooperating with the incident commander to try to see like what changed, So fortunately, I don't deal with a lot of these people, but please be honest, especially if you are in a blameless sort of a culture. I mean, we did not fire the person who dropped the table on the master. He's perfectly fine. He ended up even like going to Google after IMU, which is great. But this is important. Summing it all up, I think it's important. I mean, some of the things I talked about, the soft skills, some of the suggestions, some of the mindset, the customer obsession. It really comes down to being mindful about your work. It's like, don't do things just mindlessly, right? As engineers, we often, I'll touch upon that, but we focus so much on the what, we focus less on the why. Like, why are we even doing this, right? So it's so important to be that engineer, like who always has the customers in his mind, right? So they have inner peace, and they are mindful, self-aware, don't indulge in like stupid work. Again, the other thing is they aren't afraid to admit their mistakes, and most importantly, I think the best engineers are the one who, without being asked, own their failures and then put in the right systemic measures to prevent that defect from ever reaching production again. So hopefully, I think all of us should aspire to become one of these engineers so that we can serve our customers. Last section, probably like a couple minutes more. I'm sort of passionate about DevOps. Still put it in code because there's no consensus on it. But talking about like 4 different patterns and then 1 anti-pattern. The first pattern, I mean, I already talked about it, is like customers really care about like 5 nines customer service, if there's anything like that. The other thing is, uptime is everyone's job. If someone says you otherwise, you should at least have an argument or a debate. It's not just ops' job. Established budgets or SLOs, these make a huge difference. In fact, when I was at Zynga, there was an error budget, actually an alert budget, where I said, if a studio, like Farmville or whatever, goes over certain alerts in a week, I said, I will deny you SRE coverage, just period. They were like, we pay your salaries, how can you do that? I can do it. I mean, it's a long story. I mean, I oversimplified it, but again, budgets work as long as you have the right support from people. The second thing, I think velocity is overrated. I mean, I come from IMView, and it was pretty routine to push like 50 times a day back in 07, 08. But what I don't see as much is engineers focused on what happens after they push, right? What have you learned about your customers, right? What I'd really like to do here is like, there's an exercise that I normally like to do, and that I normally ask my team to do, is like, just do the simple thing. Why am I doing? Why now? Like, how does this fit into the big picture? And most importantly, what does success criteria look like? The absolute worst thing is, I've seen, for example, you're an engineer, you commit code, and if you, as an engineer, don't care about how your piece of code has impacted the customers, it really doesn't matter how many times you ship. It really doesn't matter, what happens, because you don't really care if your change goes into production in today, tomorrow, in a month, or a year, or maybe never, right? So it's important to be able to be mindful of that fact and see how your changes are actually impacting the customers. And the other thing is, I think I see a shift happening in the industry. I call it, everyone's dev, everyone's ops. Dev seems to be moving down the stack. Ops is sort of moving up the stack, working more on infrastructure. That's what we did at Yahoo. We built a Kubernetes cluster, being a production engineering or a SRE team towards the very end because of some of the strategic investments we made, over the past 3 years. But it's important. This is happening. And I think I envision a future where everything, I think engineers would just like write business logic and the code would just run magically, and the SRE team or PE team was just maintaining or managing the infrastructure and scaling it. But we'll see. Okay, last one, DevOps is table stakes, right? I mean, we've been doing this for so long, 10 years, I don't know, like CD, things like that have been around for so long. I think the strategic differentiator will be how obsessed you are with your customers, right? So that's going to be key. Anti-patterns, like anything that distances or separates the customer from the people who actually write the software is an anti-pattern, right? Absolutely. In fact, I'll give you an example. I mean, these are like probably good examples where people are building teams just for the sake of building teams and distancing customers. And I've seen this happen and I've reversed it. Just to give you an example, this is, you know how horribly broken the first model is? So, and once you do that, the results would look something like the TDD, the MTTD would look, there's a dramatic drop. In fact, I'm successful in doing this at Yahoo, but yeah, that's that. And good luck, and thank you so much.